Good day and welcome back to A Chapter a Day. Today is April the 20th and we will be reading chapter 19 of Leviticus. So we are dealing with the instructions that God gave to Moses to give to the children of Israel concerning different offerings, sacrifices, and behaviors that they were supposed to exhibit while they were out there in the wilderness. So we are going to go on and continue our reading. So, chapter 19. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, and say unto them, Ye shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy. You shall fear every man his mother and his father, and keep my Sabbaths. I am the Lord your God. Turn ye not unto idols, nor make to yourselves molten gods. I am the Lord your God. And if you offer a sacrifice of peace offerings unto the Lord, you shall offer it at your own will. So again, that's pretty straightforward. It's telling them that they're supposed to keep God's commandments. God is holy. Keep his Sabbaths. Fear your father and your mother, which is the honor thy father and thy mother. That is the commandment where we are supposed to be respectful of our parents. And I believe we touched on that earlier on. And the sacrifices that they're supposed to give to God, they're supposed to be willing sacrifices. Nobody's supposed to force you. And I know today, and I will say this, I know some churches kind of attack their congregation about bringing tithes and offerings. I somehow think tithes and offering paying is kind of personal. I know churches want it to be mandatory because it is what sustains them, but it's like a commitment between you and God. At least that's how I see it. I may be wrong, but from my perspective, I don't think a preacher or anyone else has the right to coerce their congregation into paying tithes and offering. It's something that's done between the person and God. That's just my thought. Okay, verse 6. It shall be eaten the same day you offer it, and on the morrow, and if aught remain until the third day, it shall be burnt in the fire. And if it be eaten at all on the third day, it is abominable, it shall not be accepted. Therefore everyone that eateth it shall bear his iniquity, because he has profaned the hallowed thing of the Lord, and that soul shall be cut off from among his people. And when you reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not wholly reap the corners of thy field, neither shalt thou gather the gleanings of thy harvest. And thou shalt not glean thy vineyard, neither shalt thou gather every grape of thy vineyard. Thou shalt leave them for the poor and the stranger. I am the Lord your God. So once again, God is telling them just simple, straightforward things. Don't eat the burnt sacrifice on the third day. If you're eating it, eat it within the time frame. If you eat it on the third day, it will not be acceptable. As a matter of fact, it will become like an abominable thing. When you're reaping your land, don't take everything. You don't have to clear it out, And we'll see why he said you need to leave something for the poor and the stranger and the needy. It's amazing. God provides for everybody, even for people who don't even acknowledge him. And today it's the same thing. God makes the sun and the rain. Everyone has access to it. So it's not just God's people who gets rained on or gets the sun to shine on them. God is merciful. We are all his children. It's just that some of us don't acknowledge him. Okay, moving on. Verse 11. You shall not steal, neither deal falsely, neither lie one to another. And you shall not swear by my name falsely, neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord. Thou shalt not defraud thy neighbor, neither rob him. The wages of him that is hired shall not abide with thee all night until the morning. Thou shalt not curse the deaf, nor put a stumbling block before the blind, but shalt fear thy God. I am the Lord. You shall not do unrighteousness in judgment. Thou shalt not respect the person of the poor, nor honor the person of the mighty. But in righteousness shalt thou judge thy neighbor. Thou shalt not go up and down as a talebearer among thy people, neither shalt thou stand against the blood of thy neighbor. I am the Lord. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor, and not suffer sin upon him. Thou shalt not avenge, nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord. You shall keep my statutes. Thou shalt not let thy cattle gender with a diverse kind. Thou shalt not sow thy field with mingled seed. Neither shall a garment mingled of linen and woolen come upon thee. And whosoever lieth carnally with a woman that is a bondmaid, betrothed to an husband, and not at all redeemed, nor freedom given her, she shall be scourged. They shall not be put to death, because she was not free. Wow, quite a number of instructions here. Don't curse the deaf. They can't hear you, so I'm not sure how God views that. No, put a stumbling block before the blind. That's wicked. You don't mess with blind people because they're walking, you stick your foot out or put something in front. That's just wicked. You don't even do that to seeing people. Don't go lying to your neighbor. Don't bear false witness. Okay? Respect the persons of those who are in honor. Like how we have our leaders, our president, our prime minister, and we say some things that really ought not to be said because we think we have the right to, and maybe they're not living up to our standards. We ought not to do that. Okay? Don't go telling tales all over the place. Some people are what we call busybodies, going to tell their neighbors, hey, about another neighbor or somebody about somebody else. Don't do that. You should find stuff in your house to do. Don't hate your brother. Don't keep it in your heart. Somebody did you something and it's sitting there like for eons and you're getting sick and you don't even know why because hate is in your heart. Get rid of that stuff. And don't go bearing grudges against God's people or anyone, your neighbors, your brethren, whoever it might be. Don't mix the animals. You can't mix a dog and a cat or anything like that. It says that God is saying it. Don't let the cattle gender with a diverse kind. Don't put a cattle with a horse, a cow with a horse. People can think of the most ridiculous things, honestly. Even when you're throwing seed into your field, don't mingle the seed. Don't put corn and you know what? Like corn and peas and all that together. And I remember when I was in Arizona, I think, I heard someone mention that the Native Americans used to do that. They would put like 3 types of grains together, and it seemed like that was a great thing, but that's what God's saying not to do, I believe. And even your clothing, don't mix the clothing. Just say this is like wool and linen and all these different mixtures of threads. God said don't do it. Even that, what you believe in? You know what I believe? Linen clothing is the lightest. What's the word? Coolest. Might be a little wrinkly when you wash it, but I love linen. I love linen clothing. And I'm thinking to try and use more of those. Okay, moving on. Oh, and another thing, if you lie with a woman and she has a husband, the only reason you won't be put to death is because she was not a free person. So maybe you forced her because she was a slave. And it happened here in America for sure. We know for sure how much of that happened with slave women being abused and bringing forth all these children so Massa could populate his plantation. There was a lot of that happening, and these women had to do it against their wills. Okay? So, let's move on. Verse 21. And he shall bring his trespass offering unto the Lord unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, even a ram for a trespass offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for him with the ram of the trespass offering before the Lord for his sin which he hath done. And the sin which he hath done shall be forgiven him. And when you shall come into the land, and shall have planted all manner of trees for food, then you shall count the fruit thereof as uncircumcised. 3 years shall it be as uncircumcised unto you, it shall not be eaten of. But in the 4th year all the fruit thereof shall be holy, to praise the Lord withal. And in the 5th year shall you eat of the fruit thereof, that it may yield unto you the increase thereof. I am the Lord your God. So God is telling them, you know what? The man that does that lie with a woman who is she's the bondwoman and she had a husband, he has to confess that and bring an offering to give to the Lord. Okay, and then that sin shall be forgiven him. When you plant your trees, give it 3 years before you start eating the fruit. I didn't know that, because we planted some fruit trees like in 2013, and the next year 2000, I think it was 2015, when I returned to the place, the trees were all bearing fruit, and I just picked and ate. I didn't remember this, honestly. I still hold a lot of God's words and teachings still in observance, even though they say certain things are done away with, and I do believe so, but I believe it's more sanctuary ordinances and ceremonies were done away with. Like if someone sinned, like this guy lying with this person's wife, he doesn't have to go bring a ram before a priest, because we don't have any more priests and rams to offer, because Jesus took the place of all of that. But we still have to confess that sin. So that is what was done away with, the bringing of the offering for sacrifice, for forgiveness of sin. Jesus paved the way for us to go straight to God. Okay, but if we don't, that's it. Your sin remains with you. But I didn't know about the fruits having to wait for 3 years before I could eat the fruit. And then in the 4th year, then it will become like my first fruit. Okay? But I didn't know that. And they say, therefore it will yield increase unto you. So, yeah, I learned something. Verse 26, you shall not eat anything with the blood. Again, we are hearing about this. Neither shall you use enchantment, nor observe times. You shall not round the corners of your heads, neither shalt thou mar the corners of thy beard. You shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print any marks upon you. I am the Lord. Do not prostitute thy daughter, to cause her to be a whore, lest the land fall to whoredom, and the land become full of wickedness. You shall keep my Sabbaths and reverence my sanctuary. I am the Lord. Wow. God told us all. He said, first of all, the 5th year is when you shall eat the fruit. So even though the 4th year, it's the time that the fruit shall be holy unto God. So that's when maybe you have to give like your tithes of the fruit. 5th year is when you eat from the fruit. I didn't know that. Don't eat blood. Once again, don't use witchcraft and do all these observing of times, like your zodiac and all that stuff. Don't round the corners of your head. I'm not quite sure what that means. That's interesting. Never like to see men with round haircuts either. I think your head should be squared up at the corners. And mar the corners of your bed. I'm not quite sure. That may be something more for the Israelites, the way they dressed back then. I'm not quite sure. Cuttings in your flesh, I know of. I know people make marks in their skin. Some pagan cultures did that long ago, and some of them still do it today. You see cuttings in their faces, cuttings different parts of their body, and markings. Oh, today, tattoos are the big thing. And you don't have a tattoo, you're not with it. You know what? That's right. And I don't want to be with whatever the it is that represents, because that is a pagan custom also. No prints upon your body. Don't sell out your daughters. Some people actually do this. Prostitute their daughters. That is wrong. Oh, should I have to say that's wrong? And not to mention, you're going to cause wickedness to come on your land. If all your daughters are prostitutes, what sort of man is that? And keep God's Sabbath. Reverence his sanctuary. I know we don't have a physical sanctuary anymore. It's here in our hearts. But when we gather with God's people, they consider it to be the sanctuary. We need to be reverent. When we go in there, people want to sit down and talk about all the stuff that went wrong with them throughout the week, and all this stuff they plan to cook and buy, and places they are planning to go. That's not for the Lord's sanctuary. Did you come to praise and worship? Then keep your mind on praise and worship, okay? Verse 31. Regard not them that have familiar spirits, neither seek after wizards to be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. Thou shalt rise up before the hoary head, and honor the face of the old man, and fear thy God. I am the Lord. And if a stranger sojourn within your land, you shall not vex him. But the stranger that dwelleth with you shall be unto you as one born among you, and thou shalt love him as thyself. For you were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. You shall do no unrighteousness in judgment, in metyard, in weight, or in measure. Wow. Familiar spirits, do not mess with evil. Familiar spirits are just the evil spirits that were thrown out of heaven, that people think they can conjure up, think they're playing with the devil. Playing with the devil. The devil does, he plays with you for a while, and then you know what? He realizes no more play. He's going to mess with you. He's going to mess with your mind. It's going to be defiling of you. You're going to be, there's going to be on you. Okay? Rise up to the hoary head. The hoary head are gray-headed people like I am, and almost there fully. When you see old people, respect them. I go onto buses and old people come on, and the poor things have to stand and hold on, and some young person sitting on their behinds wouldn't get up and give them the seat. I would have to get up, and my hair is already hoary too. But truthfully, be respectful of old people. Don't you cuss an old person out. They've paid their time on this earth, okay? And fear the Lord your God. Honor the face of the old man. I love old people because I think they have so much experience. They've been here for so long. And if you just listen to them, you'll hear some stuff. And be kind to strangers. That is what God is saying. Because you know what? You all were strangers in the land of Egypt at one time. And let's wrap it up. Verse 36. Oh, another thing is, don't cheat people. If you have a business and you're weighing out stuff, don't weigh it out less than it is, or you wait and then pull out some stuff from it and mess with the weights that it shows a wrong measurement. This is what the verses here are saying. Just balances, just weights, a just ephah, and a just hin shall you have. I am the Lord your God, which brought you out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall you observe all my statutes and all my judgments, and do them. I am the Lord. And that is the end of chapter 19. Wow. God is a just God, and anybody says otherwise, you know what? You know not of what you speak. God is just, God is loving, God is fair. Most of all, He is God. God is God. And until our next reading, oh, I forgot to say happy Sabbath. It is Saturday. Happy Sabbath. I pray that you all have a wonderful week, rest of your weekend, and a great week ahead. And until our next reading, thank you again for viewing and for listening. And remember, faith comes by hearing God's word. Take care. Bye.